Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we received the new 1.5.10 beta, and obviously 1.5.9 is still the live version of the game. This patch is about 4.5.8 gigabytes, and it does have some very good changes, a lot of stuff that we have talked about previously, and a lot of stuff that the devs have promised is going to be in this patch or actually in this patch, so very excited. The link to the new beta will be down below, and like always I have a script, everything I say, all links that are stated, they're all going to be down below in the description for you guys to check out during or after the video. Now, in this video we'll be going over all the important changes, the minor changes and fixes will be on the screen as the video goes on, and you can always pause the video or you can follow the links in the description for more information on the new beta. So let's get right into the changes. We're going to go with single player first, then multiplayer, and then both. So single player first. First, we have a lot of crash fixes, like always, but it's always good to see. Pause if you wish to obviously look at all of them. Next, we have performance changes, including campaign map code refactoring, reduced memory usage, and improved large formation performance. All very good to see. Performance is very key to having a very, very good game, so good to see. Next, they added an intro video that plays when starting a new story mode or sandbox campaign. This video will give you an overview of the state of Calradia as the game begins. I'm going to make it a separate video, pretty much showing off the intro, but as I'm talking right now, you should see kind of, little bits of it, right? But I am going to make a lot of videos showing a lot of the more bigger changes that we have seen in this patch, and they're all going to be coming in the next 1 to 2 days of this video being posted. Next we have is they added 23 new village scenes, which consist of 4 aserai, 2 battanian, 11 empire, 3 khuzait, 2 sturgian, and 1 vlandian village scenes. Very cool to see. Then they also added 10 new town scenes. 4, I'm going to ruin all of these names, but Syronea, Onira Jaculan, Oaks Hall, Sargot, Myzea, Jalmarys, Zeonica, Ortysia, Rovalt, and Diathma, the one that started with a D and ended with Ma. Listen, I know I got all those wrong. I don't want to hear a single word about it in the comments. Listen, I get it. But those are 10 new town scenes. Very excited. Then we have 3 new castle scenes. 4 Mazdahan, Sestadim, and Verecsand castles. There you go. So a lot of scenes. In total, we have about 36 scenes with village, town, and castle all being included. Very exciting. It will give it a new look, and obviously you can go explore those. I'm going to definitely explore those, and you're going to see those as I'm talking about them. And then they've also added a lot of new items. So first, they added 2 new helmets. One being the one we always wanted to actually have in the game, because it was always... it's pretty much that helmet that you see in the intro and in a lot of the posters that you see of Bannerlord. So we finally got that helmet, but the 2 helmets that we do get is the closed knight helmet and the knight helmet with brace face guard. Very cool. Then also 2 shoulder armors called the Legionary Strutted Harness and the Reinforced Neck Guard, and also 3 boots called the Laminar Plate Boots, the Tied Leather Boots, and the Belted Leather Boots. Very cool to see. New items. Then we also have new sounds that trigger when clicking various buttons on the settlements panel on the campaign map. So whenever you visit a settlement, whenever you click certain buttons, there will be new sounds. So keep, I was going to say keep an eye out, but keep an ear out, I guess, right? Then we have, they've added new player character visuals to the save and load screen. So now you can't see your main character when you are loading up a save or when you're saving. Very cool. Then they also added additional information to the Kingdom War tab. They added a war log tab. Players can now see recent events that have happened in the selected war. Very cool, more information. They have separated captured towns into 2 separate bars in the war item section with captured towns and castles. They also added a prisoners bar. So now you can see how much prisoners were taken. They added town, castles, and tribute bars to the truce items, so you can actually see how it's all broken down. And they also added detailed tooltips to show some of the bars, to show detailed information about the values in those bars. So overall, a lot more information, and this should really help people figure out exactly what matters when it comes to truce and obviously wars and all of that. I like it a lot. Like I always said, more information the better. Then they also added difficulty presets to the campaign options. We have free Freebooter, Warrior, and Bannerlord. Okay, you got different kind of campaign options. Obviously, Freebooter sounds like easy, Warrior sounds a little bit more intense, and Bannerlord sounds obviously kind of like the hardcore version in a way, right? These presets have default values for various difficulty options. The player can still choose to modify specific difficulty options, like player receive damage. You can still do all that, but these are just presets, and obviously once you choose the preset, you can obviously change all the stuff inside it as well. They also added 2 new difficulty options. First one being clan member death chance in missions. So what's the chance of your clan member dying if they actually get knocked down? And also persuasion success chance. Very cool as well. So you can change that. You can make it a lot easier for you to actually persuade people, or a lot harder. Very cool. Then we have friendly troops and player received damage options values were updated. So they are a little bit different now. And they removed the difficulty option, the friendly parties received damage. So they're very similar, and they just decided to put it all into one option, which I think is fine. Then they also added time of day. And you can also now reset your camera with the, what's it called? There's a tooltip. It's located on that circle where it shows the time of day. And you can reset your camera to what it is when you load in. Because obviously if you twisted your camera around a lot, it might look kind of weird. The map might look kind of weird, and you want to go back to the default. And now you have a button for it. I think it's a very good feature. Then they also added aunt and uncle relation text to the clan screen members. So pretty much, what's it called? You'll be able to see who are the aunts and who are the uncles. Okay, small, but I think it's valid. Then they also added mount information to the encyclopedia troop equipment icon. So now you can see what kind of mounts they have. So more information on their gear. And then they also added parties. Well, this wasn't pretty much an ad, right? This is kind of a fix in a way. So parties would sometimes lift an ongoing siege due to high wounded ratio, so they could travel to nearby towns to rest and return to the siege when healed. This loop has been fixed. What they mean by this pretty much is what would happen, it would just be a never-ending loop of them starting a siege, getting a lot of wounded, and then leaving before the siege was finished. Now they will actually continue till the end. Or if they really need to leave, they won't just keep coming back. If that kind of makes sense. Then they also removed the surrender option in the siege parlay. Players will now lose 10 influence if they abandon a besieged settlement that belongs to their kingdom by parlaying with the enemy for safe passage. There you go. So pretty much if you decide to fight somebody who is trying to take one of your fiefs, and then you surrender, you will lose 10 influence. Well, not surrender. If you choose to abandon, you will lose 10 influence for it, which makes sense in my opinion. They also improved the battle spawn system, so the spawn distance between all types of formations has been lowered, so they will spawn closer together. The distance between cavalry units in regular and loose formations has also been lowered, so pretty much everyone's a little bit closer. And now party/army leader heroes now spawn at the center of their forces in missions, so there is a spawn specifically dedicated to those guys. They won't just spawn with the units in random positions. Next, they removed the character level effect when calculating the learning rate. Increasing the character level now no longer reduces the learning rates. So now, obviously, it's a lot easier for your character to level up because the learning rate won't just keep falling until it hits 0 like it used to before. So actually very good to see, and you can probably level up a lot more skills now with this being implemented. Next, they improved the battle movement speed progression concerning the athletic skill. So pretty much what this means is the progression will be a lot better now. It won't just really ramp up towards the end. You will see a good change in your movement speed as your athletic skill goes up. They also reduced the movement speed increase effects on all perks. So pretty much it's a balance. They made the progression better, but then the standalone perks, they are a little bit worse, but it all evens out in the end. Also, we have some fixes to existing perks that can be seen on the screen right now. There's just a couple of different perks being fixed. Nothing really redone. We don't really need anything redone. We're pretty much almost 95% all perks working. So good to see, and good to see these fixes as well. Next we have is clan parties can now be assigned to a general stance. We have talked about this a lot, and the stances are defensive, neutral, and aggressive. If defensive is selected, clan parties won't make hostile actions towards enemies. towards enemy settlements on their own, only if they go with you. If they are aggressive, if you choose aggressive, they will obviously be more aggressive, and neutral is just what they currently are and what they always used to be, where they just choose between aggressive and defensive whenever they please. Next, the player is now able to limit the wages of all clan parties, including garrisons. If a given limit is reached, these parties/garrisons stop recruiting units. Other parties won't leave units to garrisons that have already reached the given wage limit. All castles and towns will now also recruit 1 unit daily. This is very big. This recruit is selected from local notables. So now this is pretty much another way to kind of like build up the garrison. Is castles and towns will now always recruit 1 unit daily, and obviously they had to implement the wage limiter at the same time, just to kind of make sure that 1 unit daily doesn't pile up to like 300-400 units. So there's a stopping point, which I think is very good to see. And then also the AI is now able to determine the ideal wages for all its settlement garrisons as well. Obviously the AI needed to get smarter as well when it comes to these garrisons, so they don't end up with thousands and thousands of units. There might be some bugs. I don't know. I'm not quite certain. I haven't played too much of 1.5.10. But we might see some bugs when it comes to units and all that, but I'm pretty sure we'll see a hotfix if that is a big problem. But the AI will take in account its financial situations and prosperity of the settlements when deciding their wage limits. And also, if a garrison's wage isn't paid because they're running out of money, 5 units will desert from the garrison each day. Also, we got some troop changes that can be seen on the screen right now if you wish to pause. Very miscellaneous, very kind of minor, but if you want to see it, there it is. Next, when joining a kingdom as a vassal for the first time, the player will now receive gifts. They will receive a special weapon depending on what kingdom you join. I'll be making a separate video showing off every single kingdom and what you receive, and also some elite troops. I would say about 6, I think is the number there. But again, I'm gonna make a separate video showing off exactly what you get depending on who you join. That is coming up very soon. Next, the player can now abdicate the throne in their kingdom, so they can give up the throne. Hopefully now they don't just go to war with the whole kingdom that they give up. Hopefully it's more of like a, we stay neutral type of deal. But yeah, now you can properly do it. Next we have is relationships with kings are now much more important when it comes to defection calculations. If a clan has a very poor relationship with the king, it is very likely that they will defect. Which I agree, it makes a lot of sense. Next we have is the loyalty drift medium for settlements was slightly reduced, increasing the possibility of rebellions occurring. Again, very good in my opinion. Rebel clans are also now stronger. We have talked about this in the past, and the devs have discussed this. The rebel leaders spawn now with a higher amount of money whenever they rebel, and also better militia and a higher food amount. So there's a bigger chance they might actually join all the other clans after the 30 days because their previous owner can't actually win that battle, which I think is good. Next we have is the player will now receive ransom offers for prisoners kept by the player and the player's clan members. Very cool. I like the fact that the AI will now interact with the player. I know this might be a minor change, but it's a good first step. I think to make the world feel more alive, pretty much what it requires is the AI to kind of reach out to the player the same way the player reaches out to the AI. And I think this is a good step, in my opinion. Next we have is combat. After using force notables to give you recruits or force peasants to give you supplies, which are 2 options you can use, will now cause a war, whether the player is victorious or not. So before, I forgot exactly what it was, but I'm pretty sure if they were victorious, then it didn't cause a war. But if they weren't, it was something weird like that. But now it always will, which again I agree with. It's kind of it's an act of war in a way. Next we have is towns now have 50% more money on average, which is I think a good thing for the economy of the game. So now you will have a little bit more space to sell more items, which I think is very good. Next we have is the total hearth value of villages, which is pretty much kind of like the prosperity value but for villages, and also the prosperity value of castles and towns. They had a very high inflation in the past. The daily increase of these 2 variables is now smaller, which prevents high inflation during late game. So you won't see So now you won't see those towns with very high prosperity, or those villages with very high prosperity, which will in a way result in less income, but also will kind of balance out how everything else works in the town and castle, and overall it is a good change. Next we have is wood workshops and smithies were making much less profit compared to other workshops. Obviously they were nerfed in the past for making too much. Now their profits have been slightly increased to kind of keep up with everything else, which I agree. Next we have is faction rulers can now enter all settlements within their domain, regardless of their relationship with the settlement owner. Nice. Before it was very weird, pretty much being the ruler and then somehow being denied access to a castle that is under your kingdom. It was very weird. I've talked about it in the past, and I like to see this change. It makes complete sense. Good to see it. Next we have is related quests will now fail if the player forces peasants to give supplies or forces notables to give recruits. And related quests will now also fail if the player changes his kingdom and becomes an enemy with the quest giver. So now quests, before there were some stipulations and there were some chances of your quest failing because of certain things, especially like just going to war. But now this adds more stuff that could make the quest fail, which I think it's in a way it's good gameplay. It might be kind of frustrating, but it will make you learn a little bit more, and overall I think it's good gameplay. Next we have is a lot of quest changes that can be seen on the screen right now if you do wish to pause. And then also we had this is the last for the single player. They added new facial expressions as the default idols for NPCs based on their traits and relationship to the player. So now depending on your relationship and also depending on what type of NPC it is, they will have different faces for you to see, whether happy, mad, all that in between. Now onto multiplayer, we have a couple of changes. So first, they adjusted the cavalry blocking cones. Shields no longer cover below the boot of the rider, making it easier to hit the horse. There is a post on the, what's it called? It's also going to be another video that I make separate of this, where I will be explaining this change more in depth, because the devs did go in depth with it in a previous post that I just found. So I am going to make a video of that very shortly. Next we have is map changes to certain multiplayer maps are on the screen right now. And if you do want to find out more and specific changes, please visit the link in the description. It will bring you to the patch notes, and then on the patch notes, as you can see on the screen, there are some links that you can click to see the full changes. Next we have is added a player kick poll to all game modes. This can be started directly from the scoreboard. A majority of the team needs to vote yes for the player to be kicked. Good. It's a good step. Obviously there'll be some abuse, I get that, but these are good systems and they need to be implemented in most multiplayer scenarios. And also they added an automatic kick for excessive team damage and kills. Also very good. Now onto both. First, they added a last hitter information to melee and ranged blows. The last hitter of an agent will now get the kill score, pretty much get the kill, if the hit agent suicides shortly after it is hit. So pretty much what they mean by this, let's say for example you shot somebody with a bow, that was the last hit that they received before, let's say, falling off a castle wall and dying. You will get that kill pretty much since you were the last hit, which is cool, I guess, right? Next, they increased the flee radius to make it easier for riderless horses to flee battles. So now pretty much when units without horses flee battles, they will actually disappear from, disappear on the outskirts of the map easier, therefore being able to retreat easier and save more of their men, which is, I think, a good gameplay feature. And lastly, for modding, we have quite a bit of changes. They're on the screen right now, and hopefully they do help mod creators have an easier time creating great work, whether the big overhaul mods or just whatever mods they're making. Hopefully this does help. But that pretty much does it for all the changes. I think it's a pretty much a good overall patch. Lastly, I'm going to end this video in the same way I end most of my update videos. I want to thank the developers for staying active and bringing good changes. There's a lot of negativity going around. Just keep them coming, you know what I mean? People, regardless of what it looks like on the forums, people enjoyed the game, people are enjoying the updates, you know what I mean? And I think we're going in a good direction, and the updates are good. Also, I have a video on how you can revert your game to any other patch released, or if you are having problems getting to the current patch, check out the video below. Also, if you are crashing on startup after updating to a patch, I have another video solution for you down below as well. Also, I did start a Patreon, nothing crazy, I'm using it for basic support. If you want to support me further, I would appreciate if you visit that link. And hopefully this video was informative, and like always, stay safe.